Lloyd, Ruhl, aka MegaBlitzz. In today's video, I'll be looking at the top 8 decks from Brisbane Regionals. There was 2 regionals going on the exact same weekend, so I wanted to talk about the other regional that was going on. And I think there's something cool going on with our format right now, and very interesting that I want to talk about, because it's different, and I like it. It's awesome. So, before we jump to that deck list, though, don't forget to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, because I really do appreciate every single one of your guys' support. Alright, let's jump in to those deck lists. Alright guys, here we are with that 8th place list, Gardevoir EX. Now Gardevoir EX is kind of got put on the map by Tord Reklev quite some time ago. It's probably the most represented deck in our format right now, I would say. It's a good deck, it's solid, it's a very long game that you're going to play with Gardevoir, but Gardevoir is incredibly good at being able to come back from behind and win. Hence why it plays the counter catchers and the reversal energies and things of that nature, because you're attacking with all these single prize Pokemon, and they're usually able to take knockouts on you a little bit early just because Gardevoir takes a little bit of time to get set up. So things I like about the deck, I like the Cresselia and the Screamtail. I think both of them should be getting played in Gardevoir decks. I saw people like cutting Cresselia and like playing 2 Screamtails. I think you play one of each, because one gets around Jirachi, and then the other one gets around Manaphy. So you can kind of answer to both of them, which I think is really nice. So something very important to note is that Cresselia gets countered by Jirachi, but Screamtail gets countered by Manaphy. But Manaphy doesn't counter Cresselia, and Jirachi doesn't counter Screamtail. So that's kind of what I meant by that. It's a lot, and it's a little confusing, but it's good. I also love Zacian in this deck. A lot of people were cutting Zacian. I don't think you should, especially if you're playing Gardevoir with like 4 Steelstone in it. I think Zacian's kind of like the perfect pick for that, because you're able just to attach it and not have to worry about your Lumineon kind of just sitting there awkwardly. Professor Truro Scenario is another perfect card in Gardevoir. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Being able to just pick up your damaged Screamtail or Gardevoir or Zacian and then putting the energies back into the discard pile instead of putting them in your hand like Penny does is too good, especially in Gardevoir. So, not shocked to see this here. Mirage Step Kirlia with reversal energies. This is the Gardevoir list I would probably play if I were picking up and playing Gardevoir. So, not shocked to see it here. Congratulations. Alright, 7th place. Now, this is going to start... What I meant in the intro about our format being interesting is Snorlax Stall was kind of a meme deck for a while, but I really think that this deck is a contender, and I think it's going to be tier 1. I think it's going to be a deck that you're going to have to tech for. I think it's going to be a deck you're going to have to learn how it works, and you're going to need to know how this matchup plays out, especially with the deck you may be playing, because, well, Snorlax Stall, I mean, it won a regional, and we got 2 in this top 8 list. It's doing something, and I think the reason is because this deck got Counter Catcher, it's gotten Erika's Invitation, and it's gotten Luxurious Cape. And I think those cards alone really put this deck over the top. And I think right now where our format is positioned, I think Snorlax Stall does a really good spot. We have a lot of decks out there that are using EXs and Vs, which is why they use Mimikyu to counter that. And we have a lot of decks that require you to retreat a lot, like Anti-Iron Valiant. You got Lost Tina that were, you know, Jet Energy up something, retreat out of it. So Snorlax really slows that down. And they have so many disrupting supporters with Misfortune Sisters and, you know, Avery and things of, and like Erika's Invitation, Giacomo. All these cards really make it hard for you to play the game. Temple of Sinnoh, Luxurious Cape and Bravery trying to make their Pokemon just beefier. And then that Crabominal with the 1 water energy to trigger Avalanche and mill you a little bit. It's an odd strategy, but it's good, and it's positioned pretty well in the format, and I think going forward, this is going to be a deck you're going to have to worry about. Now, am I sitting here telling you that you should pick up and play Snorlax at your locals? Absolutely not. I truly believe that Snorlax is the best at a best of 3 format. I think Snorlax at a best of 1 is a little hard, because 30 minutes isn't quite enough sometimes to get the setup for block and all that things going. And I think a best of 3, where you have 50 minutes to play with, you can grind out that game 1, win the game 1, and then go tie on game 2, and then you win with a 1-0. So, like, I think Snorlax Stall is definitely a deck you're going to have to worry about. I think it's going to be a tier 1 deck, and I think that it's positioned very well in the format right now. So, not shocked at all to see this here. Going into our 6th place, we have the exact same list in 7th place. And I think that just might prove my point that much more. I mean, I don't know, guys. It might be something that you definitely want to try and play and just try to understand how the deck works. I've been trying myself to play it a little bit to understand how it works. I have a pretty close friend that plays Snorlax Stall, and he played it when it was a meme deck. So I know how it works, and I know the intricacies of a little bit, but it's definitely one of those decks where you really have to think outside the box, and I think that's very interesting. And I'm not going to lie, when you win a game with Snorlax Stall, it feels absolutely incredible. It feels so good. So definitely try this list out. I would probably just copy paste one of these lists and just pop it in TCG Live and go from there. This is probably the list I would be playing right now if I were to be playing Snorlax Stall, so definitely not shocked to see it here. All right, going into our 5th place list, we got another Gardevoir, almost the exact same, actually I think the exact same as our 8th place list, so not going to spend too much time on it, just kind of recap some of the things I said. But the 8th place one, I like the Screamtail and Cresselia because you counter their counter essentially in a way. I like Zacian and Professor Chiron Scenario is perfect. I would cut an Avery for a 4th Iono. I think that Iono is just too good of a card to be playing in Gardevoir, and I think that Constant Disruption is really nice in Gardevoir. But 3 Iono is still not bad, and I understand the 2 Avery, but I would prefer to play 4 Iono, 1 Avery. That's just me. So very nicely here in 5th place with Gardevoir. All right, going into our 4th place here, we got Fusion Strike Mew. Now, Fusion Strike Mew kind of got put on the back burner a little bit when Roaring Moon kind of took off right around LAIC. Everybody thought Roaring Moon was going to be this crazy deck, and Fusion Mew didn't have the greatest matchup into it, so people were playing the Aselgor stuff in it. Well, this one isn't even playing it at all, so they were able to just dodge Roaring Moon, or Roaring Moon kind of just fell off. I mean, Roaring Moon is definitely one of those decks where it's all gas, no brake, and you better hope you don't sputter out. So, not shocked to see Fusion Mew here. I am more shocked to see Fusion Mew than DTE Mew. I think DTE Mew is just positioned better right now than Fusion Mew is. But, I don't know, man. Fusion Mew is a good deck. I mean, you got the Disruption with Judge, you got Path to the Peak, you got Grabbers, you got Lost City, Box of Disaster. The deck is just, it's consistent, and I know I've said this probably upwards of 1,000,000 times, but Mew is going to be here until it rotates around March's time, probably is when we're getting rotation. So definitely just prepare for the worst. Prepare for Mew. Always think Mew in your head a little bit because it's going to be here and it's not leaving anytime soon. So, well, until rotation that is. All right, going into our 3rd place here, we got Charizard EX. Now, things I like. I like 3 copies of Blazing Destruction Charmander. I love that. I love the 1 copy of the Ember Charmander. Now, what I don't like is the 90 HP Charmeleon, because it makes Greninja just a little too free. I know you have Manaphy in the deck, and I get it, but I still think the 100 HP Charmeleon is just a little bit on the safer side, and that's kind of what I would do. Also, super cool tech we got in here. We got Cramorant in the deck. Now, you might think, why the heck do we have Cramorant in the deck? Well, we play 3 Lost Vacuums and 4 Core's Experiment in this list, so getting to 4 in the Lost Zone isn't necessarily going to be that hard, because if your opponent's playing like Path to the Peak, you're going to have to Lost Vacuum away Path to the Peak. So now you're at 2. You play a Chorus, you're at 4 already. So, with just that alone, I mean, Cramorant's going to be able to start attacking at some point in time, and just being able to have that free attacker very early on in the game can really put some early pressure on your opponent. I also really like Vengeful Punch in this list, because Charizard is one of those Pokemon where it's 330 hit points, so trying to one-shot it is very hard. As a former Single Strike Lugia player, and being forced to play Cobalion so I could one-shot it with my Tyranitar, it's not the easiest thing to do, so you have to two-shot it. And a lot of the times, Gardevoir is going to have to two-shot this. So Vengeful Punch is the counter in this deck to Gardevoir, because they're going to KO your Charizard, and then you're going to go, all right, well, trigger Vengeful Punch, take 4. So it really puts a lot of pressure on Gardevoir, especially with Gardevoir being probably the most played deck right now. This was a very nice include, and I'm glad that someone thought of it, because, well, I've kind of been saying it for a while. Vengeful Punch is a very underrated Pokemon tool right now. I understand Box of Disaster, full HP. When I was playing Arctina, I played 2 copies of Vengeful Punch in the list because I knew that Gardevoir was going to be a harder matchup for me, and I wanted to put the pressure on, and it worked out. I played at a League Cup with Arctina, and I put a lot of pressure on my opponent with 2 Vengeful Punches. So I like to see the Vengeful Punches finally coming around and starting to getting used in a lot of decks now. So, like the list, things I don't like, Charmeleon, things I love, the Charmander split, Cramorant, super spicy, Vengeful Punch, love to see it finally. Jumping into our second place deck here, we got another Charizard EX deck with Pidgeot though, because this one's a little more spicy with no Pidgeot, but this one's got the Pidgeot. So, I like the Charmander split. I just changed the 60 HP Charmander to the Ember one, and we're sitting comfortable. We're good. The 100 HP Charmeleon, perfect. That's exactly what you need to be playing. I think 90 HP is not good. You know, the Pidgeot's great. Rotom's a little spicy with the instant charge, but I get it. Mew makes sense. A lot of people are playing that in there. But the Minior, now this card is very interesting. Its ability, Fair Flying Meteor, says once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, when you attach an energy from your hand to this Pokemon, you may switch it into the active. And then its attack, Gravitational Tackle 20 times. This attack does 20 damage for each normal or colorless energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So, if we pop over here real quick and look at this Snorlax, it's got 4. So if we go back over here, 2, 4, 6, 8, you're doing 80 damage. I mean, and it gets around Snorlax being able just to attach one energy to it, and you hit this for weakness because it's fighting. So 80 times 2 is 160. That's pretty good. So it's one of those like things where like I think this is gonna be probably the counter you're gonna see the most to Snorlax Stall. It fits perfect. It can go in a lot of decks. Its attack being colorless makes perfect sense. So Minior, if you don't got them, pick them up. Go through a comment box at some LGS and find them because you're gonna need them. I picked up 2 the other day at my LGS out of the comment box, and I was like, I'm gonna need these at some point in time. So rest of the list we got here, we got 1 Colress. I think 1 Colress is kind of makes sense. I get not playing 2 Professor's Researches, but I think at that point I would just rather play 2 and not 1 Colress. Because, I don't know, if you're going to play Colress, you could just do what the other list was doing with Cramorant. Not too sure, though. I don't play Charizard that much. I love to see no Vitality Band in the list. I think Vitality Band is not a card you should be playing in Charizard. I think 7 Fire Energy is a little on the low side. I think 8 to 10 is kind of where you want to be. 7's just a little bit low. But they got a lot of different stadiums here, too. They have Town Store, Artisan, and Collapse Stadium. Now, I think you could cut the Town Store because the only thing you can grab with Town Store is Defiance Band and Forest Sealstone. But I also understand why they want to play the Town Store because you only play 1 copy of Forest Sealstone and you want to find it so you can attach it to your Rotom. Because you can only attach it to the Rotom because it's the only V you got. So, I kind of get the Town Store, but I think at that point, you just maybe want to cut that for like a second Forest Sealstone and then kind of go from there. Maybe cut an Iona for another Fire Energy. I think 8 is already greedy as is. So, something important to note. I like the list. Minior is perfect, especially with Snorlax Stall becoming a very competitive deck moving forward. Alright, coming to our winning place deck here, we got Gardevoir EX. Now, this list is a little bit different than the other ones. This one's playing 3 Reversal Energies and not the 2. It's also playing Cape to be able to put on that Scream Tail. However, this list is not playing Cresselia. So, you really need to make sure that you're KOing your opponent's Manaphy so you can attack with Scream Tail, but you also have, you know, Baby Gardevoir, and you got Gardevoir EX to attack with. It's got Greninja, so you can just discard thing and make sure you're drawing a bunch of cards. Got Avery in there for a disruption. You got the Collapse Stadium and such. You got Artisan for that, and you got other things of that nature. So I like this list a lot. I still would rather play our 8th place list personally, so I think Zacian is just too good of a card to be playing right now. So, alright, let's jump into that outro. Alrighty guys, that is the top 8 from our Brisbane Regionals. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys think that Snorlax Stall is going to be a competitive deck to worry about. I had kind of already went over my opinions of what I think. I think it's going to be tier 1. I think you're going to have to tech for it. I think it's going to be something you're going to have to think about in the back of your mind. Because I think Snorlax Stall is a real contender now. I really think it is. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions, so let me know. If you haven't yet, also don't forget to leave a like, smash that subscribe button, because I really do appreciate every single one of you guys. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Peace!